Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
6:07 Tuesday morning. Thanks for joining us here. Coming up at 7:05, Derek Anderson will be here. He's the Republican nominee for Congress in District 7 in Virginia. 7:35 brings us Tom Fitton. 8:05 will bring us Byron York. And then at 8:35, Kayla Owen. She's covering the goings-on in Richmond, trying to protect the military tuitions for children of our warriors. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Jules. So yesterday, Joseph Biden, he's the president, you know. Yeah. Joe Biden thought that the decision by the Supreme Court rose to the level of stop the presses. The president has to speak about this from the powerful position of the White House.
Right.
Which is a fascinating choice because it's not like this is a decision that affects every American necessarily. It's sort of a, drawing the lines on the Constitution with regard to separation of powers and what the presidency, powers presidency has and how you deal with a president who has gone outside the confines of the law.
Yeah.
And Joe Biden decided that required direct response from him. And now, I also think part of what was in play here is they were looking for an opportunity to get Joe Biden back out there again. Mm-hmm. Because right now, the indelible memory of Joe Biden in all of our minds is the disaster of that lump of flesh who could barely speak on the debate stage. So to prove that he's in great shape and everything's fine, they slapped orange makeup on his face, rolled him out for 4 minutes and had him read from a teleprompter, and then awkwardly turn his back to the American people and to the press and stumble out of the room. Mm-hmm. I don't think it assuaged anyone's concerns. I would like to get to the substance of what he had to say, but I can't get past the makeup. So let's start there.
Yes.
I thought it was, I started seeing pictures of this coming through on my social media, and I thought that people had sort of distorted the color on their shot, on their screen, and so I went and looked myself. And clearly they were angry at the CNN makeup people at the debate and thought that they made him look pale. Let's just say they overcompensated.
I just want to take you for a minute to the staff meeting where someone probably a very young person was like, guys, you need self-tanner, right? Or he
needs a little bronzer.
You need some bronzer.
Yes.
Okay.
He just looks like a sick old man.
You can see them bringing up a bunch of those makeup tutorials with 60-year-old women who after they're done look 25, right?
There you go.
Like, there you go, people.
That's all you need to do.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, it was not good. They definitely bronzed him up quite a bit, but there was something wrong with the color correction with the lighting. I don't know if they planned on the lighting that was going to go through the cameras. Anyway, it sort of takes away the whole Orange Man bad.
No, it does.
Arrow from the quill, as it were.
Yes.
Quiver. It's a quiver, isn't it?
Yeah,
thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh, he's very orange. I'm now looking at him.
He's super orange man. Yeah, absolutely. So we got that going for us. And then I guess we should get to the substance of what he had to say, because maybe it's me, but as he decried the idea that presidents are now immune from certain crimes as they conduct their official acts, he went ahead and violated the Hatch Act, which is a violation of law. But I guess, again, this was an official act, so maybe he didn't violate it. I don't know. Maybe this was like irony wrapped in irony. Maybe he was getting meta on everybody and just sort of that was the whole point of this. Here's the president yesterday.
The presidency is the most powerful office in the world. It's an office that not only tests your judgment, perhaps even more importantly, it's an office that can test your character. Because you not only face moments when you need the courage to exercise the full power of the presidency, you also face moments where you need the wisdom to respect the limits of the power of the office of the presidency. This nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States. With today's Supreme Court decision on presidential immunity, that fundamentally changed. For all practical purposes, Today's decision almost certainly means that there are virtually no limits on what the president can do. This is a fundamentally new principle, and it's a dangerous precedent, because the power of the office will no longer be constrained by the law, even including the Supreme Court of the United States. The only limits will be self-imposed by the president alone.
So it's wrong, and it's a lie,
Yeah,
and he's gaslighting,
Yep.
and that's not what the decision
we're
said.
here because of him and because of his Department of Justice.
Right. It needs to be
abusing the system.
It needs to be repeated over and over again that the only reason this even came up
Yes.
is because he has abused his
Yes.
office.
Yes. Yes.
That he has
acted
used,
like a king.
Yes, he
Yes.
has used the Constitution
Yes.
as a weapon,
Mhm.
and so let's just be clear about that. Also, if you agree with Joe Biden's interpretation of the decision from the Supreme Court yesterday, you are in the minority, literally, because he was pretty much just regurgitating Sonia Sotomayor's
Yes.
dissent.
Insane dissent.
Right, where she was only joined by two other justices. That's not how you do things.
Right.
That the decision is not reflected upon the dissent's opinion. The decision is reflected upon the people who wrote the decision.
Well, and also a lot of the narrative also coming out of this this decision is that see the court, it's all they'll do whatever
Right.
Trump says. If you have watched this latest SCOTUS season, you know that court has had some interesting alliances.
Mm-hmm.
They have not been across party lines. They've
Yep.
been all over the
Some
place.
of them have been a little
Yes.
surprising.
Ketanji Brown Jackson ruled with the January 6th defendants. So, I mean, we don't have this sort of split court.
Yeah, here's Joe a little bit more last night.
I know I will respect the limits of the presidential powers I have for 3.5 years.
Wait a second. I'm sorry. What was that, sir?
I know I will respect the limits of the presidential powers I have for 3.5 years.
I will respect the limits of the presidential powers. That's great to hear, because it wasn't too long ago that he was saying this.
Early in my term, I announced a major plan to provide millions of working families with debt relief for their college student debt. Tens of millions of people in debt were literally about to be canceled, their debts. But my MAGA Republican friends in the Congress, elected officials, and special interests stepped in and sued us, and the Supreme Court blocked it. But that didn't stop me.
The Supreme Court blocked it, but that didn't stop me.
Right.
I know I will respect the limits of the presidential powers I have for 3.5 years.
Can you connect those two for me? Because I'm having trouble.
No.
Sort of, he brags on the campaign trail about how he has defied a Supreme Court decision limiting his powers in the executive branch, and then at the same time,
I know I will respect the limits of the presidential powers I have for 3.5 years.
I think he's lying.
I think so too.
Or he has mashed potato for brains.
Well, and also remember, perhaps if this were a man dealing with a full brain, he would understand that this doesn't make sense. It doesn't look good to say these kinds of things. He is 100% reading off his teleprompter. The other thing we saw last night is, see, this is the president. This is Joe Biden fighting, going out there, speaking the truth. It's all on a teleprompter. We saw Anthony Scaramucci, who was at this Hamptons fundraiser. He tweeted out this weekend that I was at the fundraiser and Biden spoke from his teleprompter at a fundraiser.
Yeah.
He has that mobile teleprompter that he takes everywhere. He was at
in
a
somebody's
cocktail
living
party.
room. Yeah.
Yes, with a teleprompter.
Yeah.
So, again, those sort of inconsistencies are not registering with this man. He just reads whatever they put in front of him.
A little bit more on the president's remarks last night and how they got very, very political, specifically targeting his political opponent, which, again, seems like a violation of the Hatch Act. But what do I know? I'm not a lawyer. We'll get into that in a moment. First, though, it's 6:15.
But any president, including Donald Trump, will now be free to ignore the law. I concur with Justice Sotomayor's dissent today. Here's what she said. She said, in every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. End of quote. So should the American people dissent. I dissent.
Calling out Donald Trump specifically there seems like an overtly political act from the East Room of the White House, using the trappings of power and the presidential seal behind him. But I guess that's an official act as well. He is officially, as president, warning everyone that Donald Trump will be a dictator.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's dissenting from a decision that is keeping him from using his Justice Department to throw his political opponent in jail.
You can see the anger that he is now being limited that Jack Smith's case is in the toilet, that Fani is in the toilet, that no one cares about Alvin Bragg's so-called conviction. Nobody cares about this stuff. He will be on the ballot. There is no stopping Donald Trump now. We know that Biden is vulnerable, that Trump will be doing more and more rallies going around the country, speaking and getting people excited. This is really upsetting Biden. And so that's what we saw yesterday.
J.D. Vance, senator from Ohio, pointed out the obvious, and I'll just repeat what he put on the X platform. Tonight's rant from Joe Biden is further evidence that all of the lawfare against President Trump was cooked up by Biden and his team. The corrupt lawfare against Trump was their main election strategy, and they're furious that it's backfiring on them. The only explanation for this kind of reaction, and again, I want to point out, this decision protects Joe Biden.
Exactly.
It's good news for him.
Yes.
But they're so angry because it was a weapon.
It was.
It was a political strategy.
Well, and again, we saw from the debate, Biden is gone.
Right.
He's absolutely gone. And the only way that they could do this was, one, to lie to the American public, to continue to gaslight the American, conceal just how much he's declined, and keep Trump off the ballot. That was it.
Carrie Kupek-Urban, who works for Fox News as their chief legal analyst, said, think about how remarkable this is. A president delivering a televised primetime statement criticizing the highest court in the nation for not rubber stamping his Justice Department's prosecution of his political opponent. That's what we saw here. He's angry that the Supreme Court is stopping him from using his Justice Department to prosecute his political opponent. And when you saw Biden 2 years ago with great confidence said, Trump's not going to be president again. We'll use everything in our power to keep that from happening. But see, we keep getting in the way. We, the people who get to vote, and we, the people, as enshrined in the Constitution. And I know that there's a lot of Eeyores out there who think all of this is hopeless and the elections are rigged and it's a uniparty. And there's a lot of truth to that. And I get it. I know why they feel that. But it's days like this, it's news cycles like the last 5 days that continues to keep me as a Tigger instead of an Eeyore, thinking that there is hope and there is a chance as long as that Constitution stands, as long as we, the people, literally and also represented in that document, continue to have a say, and we will continue to have a say, then we still have a chance.
Well, but they are, I think it's really important to point out that these people who desperately want Biden in office and to win the next presidency will continue this hysterical narrative that, Trump's going to just start shooting people and killing people, and it gives him these extraordinary powers of a king. You're going to see this narrative. And there are people, Larry, there are people in this country who will believe it. This is the Eeyore in me coming out.
I know. And listen, don't get me wrong. I'm not dismissing your concerns.
I know, but every liberal woman that that are my neighbors in Alexandria, Virginia, Northern Virginia, all these women are going to be hysterical, right? They're going to believe this. Joy Reid yesterday on MSNBC. I mean, I think they need to check her into some sort of mental institution.
Oh, yeah.
And all this narrative is going to scare a certain segment of the population.
It's
they're going
meant
to
to
believe
scare
it.
them.
Yes,
that's
they're going
all
to believe
they have.
And
They run on fear. Fear that your daughters are going to be arrested for crossing state lines, right? That all they have is fear. And we're not going to live in that world. We actually have hope. We have something to aim for. We believe that it is morning in America. We actually do believe that we're still that shining city on a hill if we stick together and if we hold and keep to the faith on things like this. Yes, we're going to get to Joy Reid in just a moment. We haven't forgotten about her. By the way, the end of the press conference, honestly, the most important part of it, here's the end of his statement where he just turns on his heel and ignores the media.
I dissent. May God bless you all, and may God help preserve our democracy. Thank you. And may God protect our troops.
Yeah, he randomly throws in, may God protect our troops, because he forgot it. And may God, was it protect our democracy? Was that, speaking in such dire terms here?
If he is so emotional and upset about this, why would you not take questions from the press?
That's right.
To
so he
clarify
can
your position.
further express his outrage. Well, because all the questions that
I
would be
know.
shouting at him,
Yes, I know.
that he wouldn't answer was, can you please explain how you're equipped to be the president right now? He can't answer that. It's 6:23.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
6:37 now. Thanks so much for being part of our morning, and thanks for letting us be a part of your morning, too. It's America's Morning Show, Julie Gunlock, isn't it?
That's right.
Sure it is. No matter where you're listening, we got you covered on all the major stories of the day, and we're going to make fun of the media in just a moment. Joy Reid, absolutely. I think her skull actually split in half, and a little creature crawled out, like in Men in Black, the host. We'll give you all those details in a moment. Also, at 7:05, Derek Anderson running for Congress. 7:35 is Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch. 8:05 is Byron York, Washington Examiner. And then at 8:35, Kayla Owen with an update on what happened in Richmond yesterday with regard to military tuitions for children of our warriors. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor, Julie Gunlock. Seriously, we do need to do a welfare check on Joy Reid. This is, let's just hear it. If there was ever any doubt, because they tried to pretend that all of the criminal investigations into Donald Trump had to do, no one's above the law, and we need to do this for truth, justice, in the American way. And it's all been a political weapon. Donald Trump's got two major sins that he has committed over the past 10 years. The first was he defeated Hillary Clinton, and he must be punished forever for that.
Yes.
And by the way, those of us who voted for him instead of Hillary Clinton, we have to be punished alongside him.
No place in polite society.
Number two, his second sin is that he didn't go away.
Yes.
That he is still eligible for a second
you.
term, and now he's coming back. And so, so if there's any doubt that this entire thing was a political weapon, all of these things were political weapons, just look at their reaction yesterday when their weapon got taken away from them by the Supreme Court. Enter Joy Reid.
So we know that over the last, several days, there's been a lot of conversation about a certain old person, an old infirm person who had a really bad debate last week. We've all had these conversations. Everybody's group chats are blowing up about it. All the op-ed pages, the New York Times is telling everybody what to do. All the op-ed, all the smart people are writing think pieces and such about what should be done next as far as the candidates are concerned on the ballot. Well, today the Supreme Court just made all of that completely irrelevant. Because
let me just pause there for a second. Thank God we got something else to talk about now. All we've been talking about is how Joe Biden is too old to be the president because we saw him in all of his glory without anyone protecting him for 90 minutes on that debate stage, and we now have a constitutional crisis. But now, thank God, I can change the subject.
Right.
That's literally what she just said.
Yeah.
That's irrelevant. It's irrelevant that the man in the White House is mentally incapacitated. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because they've been dying to change the subject because they can't deal with that reality.
Leonard Leo's handpicked six.
Leonard Leo.
The Federalist Society six, the Leonard Leo six on the court. Just declared days.
Is Leonard, please tell me Leonard Leo is Jewish. Because,
yes.
Oh, good. Because the whole George, you can't mention George Soros without being, Hitler. Right. But it's okay. What is Leonard Leo? Right. It's okay to say things about.
Is he? Oh, maybe he's not.
Yeah, it doesn't. Let's just pretend he is.
Maybe he's Catholic.
Well, okay, you can be anti-papist too. Right. Either way, I just like to have their boogeyman. They have their boogeyman, and now it's the Leonard Leo 6.
Yes,
they're calling it.
Yeah.
This is such a Saul Alinsky tactic. Isolate your enemy, target them, name them, vilify them.
Yes.
That's what they did with the Koch brothers. That's what they did with Richard Lemon Scaife. Remember that whole thing?
Yeah, we're not allowed to talk about, any of this cabal in the White House trying to take out President Trump.
Right.
But it's okay to say one dude controls the entire Supreme Court.
Because the Federalist Society is the most evil organization on the planet.
There's no deep state, though. Yeah.
Before this nation celebrates its independence, presumably from the British King, that the President of the United States and a former President of the United States, that they are a king. They have granted monarch-like powers to Donald Trump and declared him immune from prosecution for any acts that can be declared official acts. So any acts that he conducts as president, and said that any acts he conducts as president which may have resulted in crimes must be presumed to be official acts if they are done through the purview of the presidency.
Why is this so hard for people to understand this? First of all, she went to Harvard, And to say they have, as we're about to celebrate our independence from the British king, they have just granted monarch-like powers to the presidency. Literally go back and read what they were discussing when they created the office of president. They literally basically wanted a king, but one that could be voted out of office.
That's right. And there were procedures in place for removal. You can't remove a king.
That's right.
But you can remove a president.
So that's number what? Wait, what was the last thing that she said? Oh gosh, it's already left my head. Hang on, I just wanted the tail end of it.
For any acts that can be declared official acts.
Oh yeah, official acts. Let me make it clear for you. When a president is giving a speech and investigating with governors of states whether the election that resulted in the electoral college electors whether it was done legitimately and legally and within the confines of the Constitution, that's an official act because that's part of his job. If a president, let's say hypothetically, sexually assaulted a female employee in the White House, that would not be an official act. In fact, could we get Bill Clinton in here to give commentary on this?
Mm-hmm. All the Supreme Court did was tell Judge Chutkan, okay, you need to be. She approved that case without ever going through the charges.
Right. You need to have a hearing.
Right. So all the court did was say, okay, Judge, you're lazy. Go through and look at these charges and determine whether it was personal behavior or an official act. That's it.
And make the prosecution make their case and let the defendant defend themselves in that hearing.
Narrow it down and look at each of the cases instead of just green-lighting something because you want to keep Trump. Right. And Chutkan is an activist judge. We know it. Is it? I always call her Chutkan.
It's Chutkan, I believe.
Chutkan, sorry. But that's all the court did. This is also managing lower courts, which the Supreme Court is charged with doing.
Should we spend more time on? Yeah, let's do a little bit more of Joy Reid coming up because, like the president himself, who, by the way, basically the president's speech was could have been reading the transcript of Joy Reid, right? And everybody's reaction yesterday from the left was structured around Sotomayor's dissent. It's almost like they got an advance copy of it, but I'm sure that sort of thing never happens. So Joy Reid literally read from Sotomayor's dissent. You'll hear that coming up in just a moment. It's 6:44.
Making sense of your world.
Talk radio is where I get all of my information.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Leonard Leo is Catholic.
Thank you. I feel terrible.
I have it on very good authority now.
Yeah, I feel terrible.
The Pope called.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Should have known that.
It's fine. The point is, they're just fine demonizing people. You start to demonize somebody on their side. Yeah. And it's like, how dare you? How dare you? All right, so here she is. Joy Reid. Boy, talk about meeting of the minds. Joy Reid reading Sonia Sotomayor. This is, honestly, your IQ level is going to drop 3 points hearing this, but you got to do it.
Let me read you what Sonia Sotomayor wrote for the 3 liberal justices, really the only justices that actually care about the Constitution. This is what she wrote in dissent.
Yeah, because if there's one thing everyone knows about liberals, they care about the Constitution.
In the history of our republic, has a president had reason to believe that he would be immune from criminal prosecution if he used the trappings of his office to violate the criminal law? Moving forward, however, all former presidents will be cloaked in such immunity. If the occupant of that office misuses official power for personal gain, the criminal law that the rest of us must abide will not provide a backstop. Will not provide a backstop. And then she added something that's never been included in a Supreme Court dissent that anyone can think of, even Plessy, none of them. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. This is DEFCON 1, friends. This lady has fear for our democracy because of the 6 other people on that court who care not about democracy, who have essentially said, on the eve of the celebration of July 4th, Independence Day, that we do have a king, that our president is, in effect, a king.
Yeah, there you go. That's Joy Reid. And honestly, Joy Reid is Joy Reid. It's the viewers of MSNBC, the people who consume their news, and this is all they get, where it's just...
That's exactly right. Yeah.
This is why it's dangerous. This is why when Donald Trump is inaugurated back in 2016, we had riots here in Washington, D.C.
And this is why what Sotomayor did is so dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, this...
One of the most irresponsible judicial
absolutely.
dissents I've ever seen.
And Roberts called her out by name, to say this is he didn't use the word unhinged, but I think he said fear mongering. And
and it's mongered some fear, hasn't it?
But it's just given legitimacy. Yeah. When you say, well, Sotomayor agrees that it's,
That's right. And she's a wise Latina after all. By the way, did you say unhinged?
I did.
Unhinged, is that the word you used?
I did.
This election is no longer about the old guy that's in the White House now. Like, all the op-ed pages and the New York Times can run around and opine about, what Joe Biden should do. And, y'all have fun with that. Enjoy yourselves, intellectual thought leaders. I no longer care. Doesn't matter to me anymore. It's above me now. It's above me now. There's a Waffle House next door. There's a Best Western next door as well.
What?
It's above me now. It's above Joe Biden now. Don't care about Joe Biden's age, infirmity, that he shuffle when he walk. I don't care. He could be seated for the rest of from now to Election Day and never get up off a chair. He could sit down. He could roll around in a wheelchair. He could be on a skateboard, seated. I don't care. Donald John Trump cannot be allowed back into the White House.
There you go. I think that says it all.
She is crazy.
You hadn't heard that? Oh, yeah, that's good stuff.
It's above me now. It's above me now.
Listen to the show.
There's a Waffle House next door. There's a Best Western next door as well.
That says it all. Who can argue with that logic?
I don't understand.
It's impossible to
what is
really.
She talking about?
She's hungry. Obviously, got a little peckish right in the middle of the monologue. She needs herself a waffle, maybe a little bacon, just take care of the situation. But the key part of that is forget about the New York Times op-eds. Yeah. Forget about the Washington Post.
He cannot be allowed back.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Joe Biden can be a lump of flesh without any brain waves. It doesn't matter. We're not voting for him. We're voting against Donald Trump, and that's all that matters. Okay, game on. Because that's exactly what we've been living through for the last 3.5 years.
I know we're back.
We're
but
way
also
over.
something. I'm sorry, but also he cannot be allowed.
Right.
There's something so creepy about that.
We must at all costs. They keep saying
are
things
problematic.
like that. Yeah. 6:53.
Making sense of your world.
Thank you for your clear insight.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
This is a major wake-up call.
Making sense of the news.